You're listening to Big World Network.
Kai's Inquisition, The Blight of Shadowfall. Season 2, Episode 2. Written and read by Ton Krakowski. I have had just about enough of this, a shaken Reynard murmured to himself. First, he got caught slinking around on the ship. Stupid, stupid, stupid. Then that moron Stoneskull staged a mutiny and got him stranded on an idiotic island swarming with cannibals that wear people's faces. He shuddered. During the battle, the ridiculous peacock of a bard goes and gets himself stabbed in the throat just when Reynard was starting to like him. And when they finally meet back up with the preachy Inquisitor wench, they arrive just in time to watch her torture Stoneskull to death. Not that he minded that the loudmouth was dead, but he didn't really think Kai was cold enough to do that kind of wet work. It was enough to make him question his ability to read people. "I'll go check out the huts," Reynard told the others. He needed some time to himself, and looting always made him feel better. "Use caution, Reynard," Kai warned him from the stage. "Tadaroth may still be nearby. If he is not, though, we need to track him and retrieve the idol." Yeah, he waved at her dismissively. He was done with her and her goddess. All he wanted to do now was fulfill his contract and get the hell off the island. "Me come too," Jack grunted. Her wits seemed to be returning to her more quickly now that she had an opportunity to behead a few savages. Reynard eyed her doubtfully. "You're too noisy and clumsy. Why don't you help take care of our little friend there? This will only take a minute." "Yes, Jack," Pia said, without taking her disapproving gaze from the blood-stained platform where Kai was wiping her trident clean on the lifeless Stoneskull's clothing. "I only stabilized Chachek. I need to work a more complicated spell to heal him, and even that may not be enough to save his life. I will also need your help to burn the dead. Death tends to spread if one does not properly attend to the corpses." Jack shrugged, shifted the unconscious halfling in her arms, and dully watched Reynard slip out of sight into the nearest hut. The rogue moved mechanically through the village, slinking from hut to hut with a grace born of years of practice. Most of the structures were living quarters, boasting straw mats for sleeping, a small pit for cooking, and a scattering of personal items. One contained a mishmash of armor, weapons, and clothing, in addition to long, glistening strands of drying meat hanging from a hook above a woven basin. Behind that shack were stations laden with odd-shaped sheets of human skin in various stages of tanning, and a pile of bones, stripped so clean they gleamed in the waning light. "I hate cannibals," Reynard hissed under his breath. Once he had pocketed whatever small, shiny objects he came across and verified that they were indeed alone in the village, he returned to the others to fill them in on what he had found. They had all gathered in the first hut Reynard had cleared, and all but Jack were anxiously watching Pia heat a silver mug over a modest fire that had been built in the fire pit. She rocked back and forth and chanted as she added pinches of ingredients to the concoction from the multitude of small pouches spread neatly to her right. As soon as she was satisfied with the brew, she scooted the few feet across the floor to Chajek, asked Jack to hold his mouth open, and carefully poured the warm liquid down his throat. The gaping wound began to close and heal before their eyes, leaving only a bright pink scar in the wake of the magic. "That is the very best I can do," Pia yawned and sat back on her heels. "Now he needs to rest, as do I. That spell took a lot out of me." She yawned again and stretched out next to Chachek. "You can wake me in a few hours." She was asleep before she could complete her thought. "I'm a little bushed myself," Reynard said. He stretched his hands back behind his head and added an exaggerated yawn for emphasis. He looked at Kai and asked, You mind keeping watch with Jack? Maybe rustling us up some more of your delicious rabbit food? I noticed that you're not much of a carnivore," he added with a rakish grin. Kai frowned at him. She had a feeling that he was up to something, but all she truly wanted to do was search the area herself for any sign of where Tadarath might have taken the statue, and so she ignored her intuition. For now. "That is acceptable. Stay here with Pia and Chajek. You will be easier to guard if you are together. Jack, let's go." Her expression stony and blank, the warrior woman followed Kai out of the hut in silence. Reynard curled up next to Pia and pretended to sleep. He waited until he could no longer hear anyone moving around outside the hut, and then crawled closer to the scholar. He drew a length of wire from a pocket hidden within his shirt and started to slip it over Pia's head and around her neck. He practically jumped out of his skin when she suddenly sat up and stared at him with eyes that were completely white. "Your contract is void," a strange masculine voice spoke through Pia. "This one shall not be harmed." "What?" Reynard squeaked and hastily returned the garrote to his hidden pocket. "I have nullified your contract with the Citadel. No one will recall your arrangement. I release you from your duty." "Who are you?" Reynard asked. Indignant, he asserted, "Contracts cannot be erased as if they never happened. It's impossible." "Very little is impossible for a god," the voice chuckled, shaking Pia's shoulders like a marionette. "I am Vohenar. Naderu wishes this oracle to assist her Inquisitor, and I have a debt to pay to my sister. Obey my will, and you will gain my favor. Refuse, and you will have angered more than one deity. The choice is yours." "What choice?" Kai's voice from outside the door behind him made Reynard jump to his feet. He recovered quickly once he saw Pia flop back to the straw mat out of the corner of his eye as he turned toward Kai. "To eat your salad or go out and hunt down some real food. I think Pia would like some real food for dinner. I'll get it myself." Reynard nodded politely to Kai as he brushed past her out of the hut, hiding his shaking hands in his pockets, colliding with Jack's legs as he did so. He stumbled back to land on his rear. "You sleep," Jack commanded. She picked him up by the back of his shirt and lightly tossed him back into the hut. "Jack, protect." "And I will hunt," Kai sighed.
Music by Kevin MacLeod.
You're listening to Big World Network.